If I'm going to write this story about how John decided to end his life, people needed to know who John was because
Yeah.
he was a very unique character. And to appreciate his personality and what kind of person made this decision. So I started writing about our life together, about how we met, about our romance, about our marriage, about our children and our grandchildren, about the things he loved to do. And so the book alternates between his illness and his death and our life together, the flashbacks.
Mhm.
So it's a love story.
Wow.
Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network. And I am here speaking with Erica Baccus. She is the author of A Promise Kept. And it's about a wife's journey of dealing with a husband that is suffering from Alzheimer's disease and his request to end his life, and the hurdles and the overwhelming scenarios that she went through. And Erica, I can't even imagine the heavy load that you expressed and you went through with this journey and all the research that you did. What an amazing thing to do, to write a book to help others. And I really want to talk a little bit about your book and all the things that went into it.
Thank you for that. After I came home from Switzerland, and after I had shepherded my husband to his last breath,
Mhm.
uh, I was in a bad state. I don't know how else to describe it, but I was deep, deep in grief and overwhelming grief.
41 years, I can only imagine.
And not just the 41 years, but for some reason I had turned the story around in my head and felt like that I was responsible for his death.
Oh, Erica.
So I found all kinds of ways to feel guilty about what had happened. And so one day I started looking back at some of the journals because I had kept a little bit of journaling while we were going through this. Just
Mhm.
thank God, but I have no idea why I did it. And when I started reading the journals, I thought, wait a minute. He asked me on this page, Erica, I want to die. I do not want to live through the end of this. Can you help me? And though he expressed that many times, so rereading those journals sort of grounded me more and more in reality.
Absolutely.
And so then I started to write. And I was writing for me. I wasn't writing for anyone else. I'd never
Mhm.
written anything creatively before in my life.
Wow.
I'd written business manuals and that sort of thing, but never anything creative. But I just sat down to write, and it just poured out of me.
Of course it did.
And it it was a way that I healed. I wrote the story, and midway through it, I thought, I like this writing thing. I think I'll take a class. And so I got on Zoom and took a writing class with a wonderful teacher. And I would read sort of chapters, to share in this class.
Mhm.
And the teacher would say to me, Erica, you have a book here. Erica, you have a book here. I go, I don't have a book. She says, yes, you have a book. And she said, she encouraged me that I would be helping others
Mhm.
by sharing the story.
Oh, big time.
So I thought, okay, let's try it. And so I got
Mhm.
serious about writing. And
Mhm.
then I thought, if I'm going to write this story about how John decided to end his life, people needed to know who John was because
Yeah.
he was a very unique character. And to appreciate his personality and what kind of person made this decision. So I started writing about our life together, about how we met, about our romance, about our marriage, about our children and our grandchildren, about the things he loved to do. And so the book is alternates between his illness and his death and our life together, the flashbacks.
Mhm.
So it's a love story.
Wow. And you have some poems in the book that you
Yes.
tell me about the poems.
Well, when I would feel really emotional about something, I started writing poetry, and um, they just they just came to me,
Hmm.
and so I put them in the book. They were about
Wow.
They were about how I was feeling that day. About John grew tomatoes we live in San Francisco. It's not a place to grow tomatoes.
No.
He had a greenhouse because it's hot in a greenhouse. And I wrote a poem about his tomatoes. And I wrote a poem about trains because he liked to build trains. And I wrote a poem about
Wow.
losing him and what it felt like to lose him. And about gratitude and about where are you, John? So
Mhm.
those I think there's about a dozen poems in this story.
Wow. Wow. And then obviously with your process, your grief process,
Mhm.
I can only imagine the the spiral, the different, like they say the stages of grief.
Mm.
How did that tie into the story when somebody tells you it's not that they want to go, obviously. There's this whole feeling of where do you fit in this picture? Are you pulling? Are you pushing? Are you, anything like that? Were you having some of those feelings?
That's such a good question. Um, So John would say to me all the time, once we made the decision and once I found Switzerland, um, he would say to me throughout the process, Erica, are you okay with this?
Oh,
I-
bless your heart.
is this really okay with you? Are you okay with this? And he'd ask the same question in many different ways. And every time I said, John, this is your life. I
Yeah.
cannot tell you what to do with your life.
No.
And I held true to that. And I held true to that because it's sort of how we were married.
Mm-hmm.
We had a relationship where we were very much individual personalities, individual
Mm-hmm.
entities that came together very closely. But he was allowed to be John Baccus, and I was allowed to be Erica Baccus. And it was something that he taught me. And I knew that if I said, no, don't do this, John, that he wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to live with the fact that
Yeah.
he was doing this for me, and
Right.
I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did you come to rectify in your own mind that it was time for the assisted suicide?
So, um, and that's the key is that you have to choose a date when you still have mental capacity. He had to pass 2 psychiatric exams in the United States that to be evaluated by a psychiatrist who would say you are mentally competent. And then he had to be examined by a Swiss doctor when we were in Switzerland that he was mentally competent. So you had to choose a date where you don't want to do it too soon because you don't want to cut off life that you get to,
Yeah.
and yet
Catch 22, like you said.
catch 22, and yet he has to have mental capacity. So it turned out to be a logistical activity.
Wow. Erica, I want to tell our listeners, obviously, where they can reach your book. It's A Promise Kept, and it's on Amazon. Is that correct?
As of Tuesday, it's going to be on Amazon. And there's an audiobook, which I narrate. There's a hardback, there's a paperback, and there's a Kindle version.
Yeah,
It's also be available at Barnes & Noble and at bookstores everywhere.
absolutely. And it's a deeply personal issue that I'm looking forward to learning more about. And Erica, you and I will be right back right after this. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.